Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, I want to welcome all of you to the Foreign Office for the first weekly press briefing of the new year, 2020. Allow me first to wish all of you and your families a very happy new year. I hope that this year brings peace and progress for Pakistan, for our region, and for the world. Ameen. I would also like to express on behalf of the Foreign Office our deep appreciation to all of you for the job that you do, especially the spirit and the zeal with which you have highlighted the plight of our Kashmiri brothers and sisters since the illegal actions on 5th August. I also want to take this opportunity to extend a very deep vote of gratitude to Dr. Mohammed Faisal, the former spokesperson. He has very ably discharged his responsibilities as the spokesperson, and as you very well know, it is one of the most challenging jobs. He is now going to newer pastures, and we wish him great success in his next assignment, Dr. Saab. So for today's briefing, I would first like to highlight a few key highlights of the year in the work of the Foreign Ministry under the vision of Prime Minister Imran Khan and the leadership of Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi. Throughout 2019, Pakistan's foreign policy made significant strides on multiple fronts. New partnerships were forged, and the historic and time-tested relationships were further fortified. The year was marked by a high frequency of leadership-level exchanges between Pakistan and several important countries, such as Saudi Arabia, China, Turkey, Qatar, UAE, Iran, Bahrain, and several more. The Prime Minister delivered a landmark address at the UNGA in New York in September and held important meetings with a large number of his counterparts on the sidelines. Our time-tested, all-weather strategic cooperative partnership with China was further enriched in 2019, as Prime Minister Imran Khan undertook two important visits to China in April and October. The CPEC project continues to advance apace. The positive trajectory of relations with the United States was further strengthened in 2019, and Pakistan's positive contribution to peace and reconciliation process in Afghanistan was acknowledged internationally. 2019 was a very busy year in terms of hosting foreign dignitaries in Pakistan. At the highest level, Pakistan hosted the Emir of Qatar, the President of Afghanistan, the Prime Minister of Malaysia, the Vice President of China, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, the Crown Prince of UAE, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, Her Majesty Queen Maxima of Netherlands, the Cuban Vice President, the Vice President and High Representative of the EU, the President of the UN General Assembly were all some of the visits that took place in Pakistan. These visits are a testimony to Pakistan's active engagement with the global community. Another very important development in the foreign policy domain was the inauguration of the Kartarpur Sahib Darbar in November. The inauguration was undertaken by Prime Minister, and the ceremony was attended by over 12,000 Sikh pilgrims. It was also attended by dignitaries such as the former Prime Minister of India, Dr. Manmohan Singh. Foreign Minister Qureshi maintained a dynamic engagement with his counterparts and other interlocutors around the world and throughout 2019. Some of his engagements included his meetings with his counterparts from China, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Oman, Japan, Kuwait, Malaysia, Germany, Sri Lanka, and many more. These interactions were characterized with traditional cordiality, friendship, understanding, and sharing of mutual concerns and interests. During Foreign Minister's visit to Brussels in June, the Pakistan-EU Strategic Enhancement Plan was signed. He participated in the Commonwealth Minister of Foreign Affairs meeting in London in July and led the Pakistan delegation to the SCO Council of Foreign Ministers in Bishkek. Pakistan hosted the third China-Afghanistan-Pakistan Foreign Ministers Dialogue in Islamabad in September. The Foreign Minister also led Pakistan's delegation to the fourth review of enhanced strategic dialogue between Pakistan and the UK in June. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in collaboration with the Ministry of Commerce and the Board of Investment, hosted the Engage Africa Envoys Conference in November. The conference deliberated ways and means to enhance foreign direct investment in trade as part of the Economic Diplomacy Initiative. The Foreign Minister also hosted his counterparts from China, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Luxembourg, Turkmenistan, Iran, and the US representative for Afghan Reconciliation, Ambassador Khalilzad, during the year. Following the unilateral and illegal actions by India on 5th August 2019, our leadership not only amplified the voice of the suffering Kashmiri people, but also raised the conscience of the international community to the atrocities perpetrated by the Indian government. The Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister, through their extensive and sustained outreach to world leaders, have raised awareness of the Hindutva-driven policies of the present government in India. Subsequent actions taken by the Modi government related to the Citizenship Amendment Act and the National Register of Citizens have further vindicated our position internationally. I would like to recap some of the major developments that have taken place in the aftermath of the actions taken on 5th August. These developments have served to place the Jammu and Kashmir dispute in the center of international discourse today. These developments are a result of our collective effort, spearheaded by the leadership. The consequences of these efforts are unfolding. The global community is now awakened to the threat to regional peace and security that the Hindutva-driven policies of the Indian government poses. First, on 16th August, the UN Security Council considered the situation in Jammu and Kashmir after a gap of 55 years. This was a reflection of the disputed status of Jammu and Kashmir and a recognition by the international community of the gravity of the situation. Second, in his address to the UNGA in September, the Prime Minister extensively highlighted the Jammu and Kashmir issue and the danger its non-resolution represents for regional as well as global peace and security. Foreign Minister Qureshi has so far written 7 letters to the President of the UN General Assembly, the Security Council and the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, keeping them apprised of the evolving situation. An emergency session of the contact group on Jammu and Kashmir was called on Pakistan's request on 6th August, as a result of which the OIC IPHRC delivered a strong statement condemning India's atrocities. Excuse me. Subsequently, in September, the OIC contact group, spearheaded by the Foreign Minister, issued a ministerial communique on Jammu and Kashmir dispute on the sidelines of the UNGA. The Foreign Minister represented Pakistan in the 42nd session of the UN Human Rights Council. A joint statement on Jammu and Kashmir was delivered on behalf of over 50 countries on 10th September. 2 successive public hearings on human rights situation in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir were held in the US Congress. the Tom Lantos Congressional Committee on Human Rights undertook a detailed debate on the situation in Jammu and Kashmir in November. 2 draft resolutions have also been tabled by the US House of Representatives. So far, over 80 members of US Congress have issued statements expressing concerns over the situation in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The Kashmir issue was also raised in other parliaments, such as UK, EU, France, Iran, and so on. International organizations and the international media have validated Pakistan's perspective on the dire human rights situation and the risk to regional peace and security through their independent reporting. Ladies and gentlemen, today is the 151st day of the humanitarian nightmare in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. It is characterized by a continued military lockdown and a complete communication blockout. Pakistan calls upon the Indian government to immediately restore internet and mobile phone services, release all prisoners, especially civil society members and the abducted young children, to remove Public Safety Act and other draconian laws, and allow the independent media and the international human rights observers to visit the region to independently observe the situation of the Kashmiri people. Now, I'd like to give you a brief overview of other recent events in our domain. On 18 December, Prime Minister Imran Khan, in his keynote address to the Global Refugee Forum in Geneva, warned of an imminent danger of a refugee crisis in South Asia due to the demographic changes engineered in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir and following the measures taken on 5th of August. He also highlighted the Discrimination Against Act and the National Register of Citizens in Assam and planned elsewhere in India as well. On the sidelines of the Global Refugee Forum, the Prime Minister also met the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Ms. Bachelet, and briefed her on the devastating impact of India's over 4 months long lockdown. On the directives of the government of Pakistan, a special PIA flight has been arranged to bring Pakistani immigrants from Malaysia on Tuesday, 31st December. As a result of the extensive efforts by the High Commission of Pakistan in Kuala Lumpur, so far over 8,000 Pakistanis have returned home safely under the amnesty scheme in Malaysia and without facing detention or fines. The welfare of overseas Pakistanis is a priority of the government of Pakistan. The arrangement of special flight to bring our nationals back home from Malaysia is another step consistent with Prime Minister's directions about the welfare of overseas Pakistanis. Separately, I would like to inform you also that the Phase 2 of China-Pakistan Free Trade Agreement became effective yesterday, 1st January 2020. Under this phase, Phase 2, Pakistan has secured enhanced and deeper concessions on products of its export interests, revision of safeguard mechanism for protection of domestic industry, inclusion of the balance of payment clause as a safety valve against balance of payment difficulties, and effective enforcement of electronic data exchange. China will eliminate tariffs on an additional 313 priority tariff lines of Pakistan's export products, which mainly include textiles and garments, leather, seafood, meat and other animal products, and a range of other items. This brings me to the conclusion of my opening statement. We will take a brief pause here. I just want to let you know that we will not be carrying the Q&A session live. That will be recorded. So And we will take question and answers now.
Yes. Yes, over here.
Yes, ma'am.
Ji.
Thank you, ma'am. We all, diplomatic press, warmly welcome you to Foreign Office as a spokesperson, and we hope timely sharing of information and timely flow of information will continue. Definitely, the press definitely always is eager and keen to get confirmation of day-to-day developments which take place. My question is, in last few days, we have heard some unconfirmed reports that OIC foreign ministers meeting is being convened. Would you like to confirm whether OIC Secretariat has fixed any date for OIC foreign ministers conference, and if it is confirmed, when and where it will be taking place, and whether the sole agenda of this meeting would be Kashmir or something else as well? Thank you.
Yes, please. Should we take that?
Welcome, ma'am, most welcome, Hajjus. Ma'am, I think after the visit of Saudi Arabia, Saudi foreign minister, recently there was an impression about convening of OIC's foreign minister conference in Islamabad, but there was no official confirmation from OIC or Saudi Arabia about it. Kashmir crisis and Indian Muslim situation need an urgent action. Please comment.
Should we take, is this related to the OIC? Yes, please go on.
Anwar Abbas here from Bol News. Ma'am, I would like to know that OIC Foreign Ministers Conference is reportedly scheduled in April. Don't you think is it too late that Kashmiris will sustain till that time? And my second question is that do you have any information about heavy weaponry installments by the India on LOC as per mentioned by the President of Jammu Kashmir? Thank you.
Also supplementary? जी.
एक तो हम आपको खुशामदीद कहते हैं, दूसरा ये कि आपकी भी पहली प्रेस ब्रीफिंग है, आपकी साल की भी पहली ब्रीफिंग है, और आज जब यूएई के वली अहद आ रहे हैं उस हवाले से इम्पोर्टेंट डे है. क्या समझते हैं आप ओआईसी पाकिस्तान का मलेशिया सम्मत ना जाना, फिर इमरान खान का सऊदीयत में जाना और वली अहद साहब का इधर आना, और फिर आईओसी की कश्मीर के ऊपर मीटिंग, आप समझते हैं कि ये आप पाकिस्तान की कामयाबी है कि कश्मीर के ऊपर ओआईसी में कभी इजलास नहीं हुआ और मलेशिया सम्मत से इसको कम से कम सपोर्ट मिली है पाकिस्तान को?
Ji. I'll combine all your questions, or I will give one consolidated answer. To begin with, I want to put it on record and reiterate that the OIC has consistently supported Pakistan on the Jammu and Kashmir dispute. Two meetings of the OIC contact group on Jammu and Kashmir were held in the immediate aftermath of the illegal actions on 5th August. The foreign minister participated in these meetings, as well as the foreign ministers of Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Afghanistan, and others. One of this meeting was held on the sidelines of the UNGA in September. I also want to bring to your attention that recently OIC's Independent Permanent Human Rights Commission held an unprecedented public session on the human rights situation in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Let me remind you that they came up with a very strong statement on the situation in Jammu and Kashmir. We are working to optimally utilize all the OIC mechanisms to highlight the situation that continues to deteriorate in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. In this context, a special session of OIC foreign ministers is envisaged, for which work remains in progress. However, The 47th regular session of the Council of Foreign Ministers of OIC is scheduled in Niger in April 2020. Pakistan has already offered to host the 48th regular session of the OIC Foreign Ministers meeting in Islamabad in 2021 as well. So all these proposals are on the table, and this is an ongoing discussion. I think your reference to the Kuala Lumpur summit and the question thereon, I want to draw your attention to the press release that was issued by the Foreign Office, and I think that should suffice in terms, these are very important relationships for Pakistan, Malaysia, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, etc. And we value these relationships and we continue to strengthen them. So I think I will let the matter rest there. Ji.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Anas Malik here from Beyond. Three questions, precisely because you summed up the foreign policy as well. We saw the result of the Saudi Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, in February last year. And then there was a subsequent announcement that said that the release of Pakistani prisoners, about 2,106 Pakistani prisoners. As per open source data available, about 200 of them have been repatriated as yet. Just last week, the Saudi foreign minister was here in this room. Was the matter raised because we're yet to see the repatriation being done, given the talks that have been there about Pakistan and Saudi friendship as well, and given that Pakistani Prime Minister was recently there as well. Can you please apprise us, number one? Number two, about Commander Yadav's case, Commander Kulbhushan Yadav's case, what is the update on that? And number three, you mentioned about the Afghan peace process. Recently, in the Doha conference, Ambassador Khalilzad thanked Qatar 12 times on the release of two foreign nationals, US and Australian nationals, by the Taliban, and he skipped the mention of Pakistan. What is, thank you so much.
On the issue of repatriation of Pakistanis from Saudi Arabia, it is a very important issue. I do not have a specific response to this, and I'd like to revert to you on this. Again, same for Kulbhushan. Again, this is a judicial process, and there are important factors that are involved in this. I do not want to give an answer that is flippant. So let me get specific facts on this and revert to you. To my understanding, the contribution made by Pakistan was acknowledged. We don't count how many times it is done, as you have counted 12 times. Let me check how many times and get back to you. G. G. Okay.
Thank you, spokesperson. Welcome to your first briefing. This is Mohammed Jalil from Voice of America. My question pertains to U.S. Taliban talks. Reportedly, these are set to resume in a few days after a break last month, when U.S. urged the Taliban for ceasefire and reduction in violence. Reportedly, Taliban team visited Pakistan. Could you comment on these developments and whether Pakistan is playing any role in this context, please? Thank you.
Pakistan, throughout the past 4 decades, as you are well aware, played a very positive role. It has been our desire to see an early and successful conclusion of the peace process and the US-Taliban talks, which will lead to intra-Afghan dialogue. We continue to support that, and we continue to facilitate this process. G.
This is Isan of representing Ministries. Madam, in its PR press release on 20th of December, the Foreign Office said that time and efforts were required to address concerns of some major Muslim countries regarding the KL summit Erdogan's statement that Saudi Arabia pressured Pakistan to back off from the KL summit. And also we have seen afterwards there have been visits from the Saudi foreign minister, the minister for foreign from UAE, and now today we see that the crown prince of UAE is coming to Islamabad. So is that also a part of the discussion that is going to take place between Pakistan and UAE? Because Prime Minister Imran Khan has been quoted to have discussed the same with Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad at least on 4 occasions on telephone.
UAE is a brotherly country. Our relationships go back many decades. And our relationships are both wide and deep. And they encompass the entire gamut of our bilateral relations. So whenever our leaderships, the two leaderships meet, the entire spectrum of our bilateral relations are discussed. And so it has been done on every occasion and on this occasion in the afternoon as well. I think I'm ignoring this side, please. I will try to do justice. Ji.
Thank you, ma'am. This is Murtala from Geotelevision. Ma'am, there have been discussion in the past in the Foreign Office vis-a-vis bringing the India's August 5 steps to the International Court of Justice. Is there any development in this regard? Secondly, there are over 65 Pakistanis stranded in Iraq who are desperately looking towards Pakistan's foreign ministry for their help. Thank you.
As you are aware, and I have given a brief recap of all the efforts that have been made to bring the attention of the world to what is happening in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. So this is not something that is over. This is going to be a sustained diplomatic campaign, and we will put forward the case of the people of Jammu and Kashmir in every international forum. Which one, that we will discuss after we have evaluated all the pros and cons and assessment of what needs to be said and done. So this is an ongoing thing.
Iraq.
Ji, Iraq, can you repeat that question, please?
There are over 65 Pakistanis stranded in Iraq for the last few months, and they are desperately looking towards our Foreign Office or Foreign Ministry for any assistance.
Are you referring to those that are on the eastern border? In which in particular are you referring to?
They were taken by some overseas promoters to Iraq.
Okay. I'm sorry?
Visa problems in Iraq.
Okay. Let me check with our department that deals with it, but I just want to highlight that looking after the welfare of our nationals abroad is one of the primary goals of this ministry, and it is done on a priority basis. So whatever facilitation and intervention is needed from the Foreign Office and our mission concern, that will be done. I just want to send that reassurance to everyone. There was someone that पीछे ले लेते हैं पहले आप and then you. जी फरमाइए. Go on.
Thank you so much. This is Shabir Wara from PTV World. Actually, SAARC summit was scheduled in Pakistan and that was postponed. And after UNG, there was news that maybe it is going to be scheduled this year later. But so far there are no any confirmed news. Is there any confirmation regarding the SAARC summit in Pakistan when it's going to take place?
Just to remind you, the SAARC process is something that we value very much. We believe it is a regional organization that is of benefit to all the member states. Unfortunately, we are faced with a situation where the process has been hindered from blossoming due to a certain member. However, this is this is something on our radar. I do not have anything more specific to share with you right now, but once I have it, I will revert. Thank you. G, up, and then we'll move back there. G.
जी मैडम, इधर पर आए कि नीचे मैडम ये फरमाइएगा कि पिछली कुछ गवर्नमेंट से कुछ सालों से हमेशा इस बात में कभी वाइस कॉन्फ्रेंस हुई है, कोई कॉन्फ्रेंस हुई है इधर फॉरेन अफेयर्स में, फॉरेन मिनिस्ट्री में, तो हमेशा ये जोर दिया जाता है कि ट्रेड डिप्लोमेसी को फार्म किया जाएगा, उस तरह में बेहतर किया जाएगा। पिछले साल की 2019 में आपने ट्रेड डिप्लोमेसी के लिए कामयाबी तो बता दीजिए, क्या कामयाबी हुई है ट्रेड डिप्लोमेसी के शोबे में?
Trade, investment, promotion of foreign direct investment is a shared goal of not just the foreign ministry, but the entire government. And the lead agency for that is the Ministry of Commerce and the Board of Investment. The Foreign Office plays its role and contributes to this overall national objective through our missions abroad. And that is something that we take very seriously. And I think it is a collective effort, and it is an ongoing effort. Let's G up. Okay.
जी मेरा नाम इनाम अहमद है फ्रॉम जीएलएफ। पिछले साल में हमारी फॉरेन पॉलिसी डायरेक्शन में कुछ नाकामियां भी मेरे ख्याल में रही। कई फॉरेन ऑफिस ने उसमें स्टेटमेंट्स भी जारी की जिनमें जापान इंडिया मुश्तरका स्टेटमेंट था जिसमें पाकिस्तान पर दहशतगर्दी के हवाले से कुछ फोकस किया गया। उसके बाद 2+2 के हवाले से स्टेटमेंट आई और फिर अभी की रिपोर्ट ऑन रिलीजियस फ्रीडम। पाकिस्तान ने अपने कंसर्न्स जो हैं वो पहुंचा दिए थे फॉरेन ऑफिस के फॉरेन डिप्लोमेटिक चैनल से। उन कंसर्न्स को किस हद तक एड्रेस किया गया, क्योंकि कोई फर्दर स्टेटमेंट उस हवाले से हमें नहीं आई। फिर मेरे एक दोस्त ने पहले दिल्ली सवाल में पूछा था कि एनओसी पर आजाद कश्मीर के प्रेसिडेंट ने ये कहा कि भारत ने हैवी वेपन भी इंस्टॉल किया है। उस हवाले से भी अगर कुछ बता दें और फिर मेरा सवाल भी।
I have a supplementary question.
G.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. My question is, as my friend has asked about the relations with the United States and other countries, as far as I know that United States, which was historically the biggest and the largest donor of Pakistan through USAID, but United States Development Program, the USAID, has pulled out of Pakistan. Their programs have been closed down, and the ongoing projects are also being reviewed. Your take on that, kindly can you tell us that how much aid which has been previously announced, that was in the budget of USAID, and now they have pulled out, the Foreign Office's response on that, and the Australian aid has also pulled out of Pakistan. Don't you think that this is the failure of the foreign policy of Pakistan when we see the Prime Minister Imran Khan and the President Trump meet twice in a year and they talk about cooperating with each other? And similarly, we see on the air summit as well.
I think आपका पहला सवाल जो था वो रिलीजियस फ्रीडम्स के हवाले से जो स्टेटमेंट आई थी।
2+2 और जो जापान इंडिया स्टेटमेंट आई थी उस हवाले से जो पाकिस्तान के कंसर्न्स थे वो कितने एड्रेस हुए, क्योंकि कोई फर्दर स्टेटमेंट जारी से नहीं है।
I want to draw your attention to the press release that we had issued, wherein we had rejected the assertions that were made in the religious freedom report that emanated from the United States. I don't think at this point in time there is nothing further that I can add on that matter. Regarding U.S. relations, I think there was a question. And आपका supplementary question था on U.S. aid and US aid. I will get the specifics of the ongoing projects that are being undertaken by U.S. aid. But I want to state that we have many development partners across the world. This is just one aspect of an overall bilateral relationships that we have with different countries, be it the United States or Australia or any other country. AusAid or USAID, I do not have the budgetary figures, how much allocation has been made, but I will get the specifics for you and let you know. Whether this is a failure of Pakistan foreign policy, I think that is something that is, it is your viewpoint. I may not share your viewpoint completely. I don't think this can be earmarked as a failure. But of course, I respect your opinion. Next. I think we'll take you first. Yes. I want to draw your attention to the letter written by the Foreign Minister on 12 December to the President of UN Security Council, in which in great depth, comprehensively, he had apprised them of the challenges that Pakistan and the threat that Pakistan is facing by deployment along the LOC by the Indian side in various sectors. And I think the detail is there, and we share that concern. Pakistan has apprised our partners and the UN and other international organizations of our fears of this threat coming from the LOC, from the Indian side. Thank you.
मैडम, अफगानिस्तान में पाकिस्तानी डिप्लोमेट और पाकिस्तान जो सिटीजन हैं उनको बार बार किडनैप किया जाता है और हमारा इंतजार किया जाता है। क्या किसी लेवल की कोई इंक्वायरी आप लोगों के साथ शेयर की होंगी?
देखिए जी, आप जो वाक़या हुआ है उसकी तरफ इशारा कर रहे हैं। ये मामला उठाया जा चुका है हमारी काबुल में भी, हमारे एम्बेसी के थ्रू, और यहाँ पे भी इस्लामाबाद में। So we are seized of this matter. This is of concern to us. We see that this has happened more than once. The welfare and protection of safety of Pakistani nationals is of great importance to us, and we will continue talking about this with the authorities in Afghanistan. I'll take one more question, the last question. I'll take you, the one, ji, up.
Thank you very much. Ocean Review News Network. आपको मुबारकबाद नई जिम्मेदारियों में। मेरा सवाल ये है कि इस वक्त जो अमेरिका और जो ईरान के दरमियान हालिया जो बड़ी कशीदगी है, उस पर पाकिस्तान कहाँ खड़ा है? दूसरा सवाल ये है कि जो कल आपने प्रेस रिलीज जारी की कि प्रिजनर्स की जो लिस्ट है जारी की थी, जो तबादला हुआ है, उसमें इंडिया पाकिस्तान को और कितने पाकिस्तानी कैदी को पाकिस्तान के हवाले कर रहा है?
जी, एक सेकंड। I just want to make sure that
और क्या अमेरिका ये सीक्रेट जो कंट्रीज है जिन्होंने पाकिस्तान और इंडिया के कश्मीर के ऊपर कुछ मुसालसी की किरदार अदा करने का कहा था, तो इसमें कोई डेवलपमेंट हुई है या इस साल कोई उम्मीद आप रखते हैं कि कश्मीरियों की इस वक्त सारी की सारी जो उम्मीदें वो पाकिस्तान है यूनाइटेड नेशन में हुकूमत की तरफ से और इस कामयाब पॉलिसी की वजह से इस इशू को उठाया गया, लेकिन उसके बाद कुछ अर्से करते हैं कि कश्मीरियों के ऊपर जो इंटरनेशनल कम्युनिटी है उसकी तरफ से कुछ खास किस्म का कुछ रिस्पॉन्स नहीं आ रहा, तो इस हवाले से काइंडली कुछ
पहले लिस्ट ऑफ प्रिजनर्स जो एक्सचेंज हुई हैं 1 जनवरी को, ये हर साल 1 जनवरी को तबादला होता है फहरिस्तों का, यहाँ इस्लामाबाद में भी और हिंदुस्तान दिल्ली में भी। According to the list that we have received, so I just want to share the numbers. The press release was issued also, so you are aware of it. This exchange takes place in keeping with the provisions of the 2008 agreement, under which these lists are exchanged every 1st of January and 1st July each year. The Government of India handed over a list of 267 Pakistani civilian prisoners in Indian jails and 99 fishermen. Pakistan has handed over a list of 55 civilian Indian prisoners in Pakistan and 227 fishermen. So those are the list. May जो supplementary question है on Kashmir, I'd like to address that. We have noted the recent events and the ongoing. चूँकि ये दो मुल्कों का आपस का मामला है, इस पे इस वक्त कुछ कहना शायद ज़्यादा फेवरेबल ना हो. जी, I want to share with you. I have already stated that to sensitize the international community on what is happening in Jammu and Kashmir, the atrocities, the suffering, the humanitarian crisis that is unfolding in Kashmir is a matter of huge concern for not just people of Pakistan, but to those who believe in rule of law, those who believe in human rights. It is a matter of concern to all of them. I don't think there is any lull in our ongoing diplomatic campaign to raise awareness of this, as I said earlier, and we will continue this diplomatic campaign on every forum in the world. At every bilateral meeting, we will talk about the suffering and raise the conscience of the international community. So I just want to highlight that. We're done. Thank you. Thank you so much. आप सबका बहुत शुक्रिया.